Hey everyone, this is Brittany from House of Sage and Lavender, and we are going to be doing chapter 2 tonight. Brittany from House of Sage and Lavender, and So Astrology for Yourself, chapter 2, the structure of the birth chart. How to read your birth chart. In this chapter, you will learn how to locate the planets in your birth chart so that you can interpret them in chapter 3. Begin by reading over table 1. It names and identifies the symbols of our astrological alphabet. The astrological symbols that we have laid out do not exist in a vacuum. They are to be found in the horoscope or birth chart, an exact replica of our solar system, drawn up for the time of birth. The birth chart is a star map of the positions of the planets at the moment you were born, with you at the center. A birth chart is comprised of an alphabet of 3 interlocking parts: signs, houses, and planets. This celestial map is drawn in 2 dimensions and appears as a circle or wheel, as seen in Figure 1. A sample birth chart that has the same basic ingredients as your own. At any time, y'all may pause the video to see things for longer. Signs. First, note the symbols of the signs of the zodiac inscribed around the wheel. The signs always follow the same order from Aries to Pisces, but the beginning point will differ from chart to chart. These signs represent 12 universal psychological needs. Everyone has all 12 signs somewhere in their chart, as everyone has all 12 needs somewhere in their lives. Next, note that there are 12 sectors of the chart, pieces of the pie numbered 1 to 12. These are called the houses. They represent 12 universal departments of life. Think of the houses as fixed and the signs as revolving around them. Depending on the time of day that you were born, you have different signs on each house. The sign at the beginning of the first house is also called the rising sign, or ascendant. In this birth chart, it is Scorpio. The words rising sign and ascendant are used interchangeably in astrological terminology to signify the same thing. Finally, the inner wheel contains the symbols for the planets, the asteroids, and several other points. Note their symbols. Note that each planet is located in a particular sign and house. The planets and asteroids symbolize the many aspects of personality. The sign describes how the planetary energy is being expressed, while the house position tells us where the action is taking place. Here's table 1. A legend of the astrological alphabet. We have the symbols for the signs, the symbols for the planets and asteroids, and then the points, and then also the symbol angles. How to locate a planet's position. Let's now locate a planetary position in our sample chart. Let's begin with some simple geometry. There are 12 signs in the circle of the zodiac. Since the circle measures 360 degrees, Each sign contains 360 divided by 12, or 30 degrees. Each degree in turn contains 60 minutes. Thus, when reading the numbers next to the planet, the first number refers to the degree, 0 to 29, and the second number represents the minute, 0 to 59. So when you locate a planet's position, the first symbol refers to the glyph of the planet. Next comes a number from 0 to 29, which indicates the degree. This number is followed by a symbol signifying the zodiacal sign, Aries through Pisces, and then a second number indicating the minutes, 0 to 59. How the houses are divided. Now let's see how the houses are divided. Note that each house begins with a specific sign degree. For example, turn to Figure 1 and look at the beginning of the second house, also known as the cusp of the house. You should find 6 degrees and 3 minutes of Sagittarius written there. The concept of signs on the cusp, beginnings, of a house is an issue that often confuses new students. Let us look at this in more details. The 360-degree circle is equally divided among the 12 zodiacal signs, so that each sign contains exactly 30 degrees. However, each of the 12 houses does not contain exactly 30 degrees. Some houses have less than 30 degrees and some have more than 30 degrees, although the wheel's total degree count is always 360. In our sample chart, the third house begins with 9 Capricorn 15 and ends at 14 Aquarius 48 at the beginning of the fourth house. What this indicates is that the third house contains the 9th through 30th degrees of Capricorn and the 0th through 14th degrees of Aquarius. So any planet between 9 Capricorn 15 and 29 Capricorn will be located in a sector, as well as any planet between 0 Aquarius 0 and 14 Aquarius 48. Likewise, the fourth house contains from the 14th to the 30th degree of Aquarius and from 0 to the 17th degree of Pisces. Intercepted signs. Normally, each successive house will have a new sign. In some charts, however, the same sign may begin 2 successive houses and another sign may be contained entirely with a house. This is called an intercepted sign. In this chart, Aquarius and Leo are the intercepted signs. They are contained within the 1st and 7th houses. The first house spans from the 20th to the 30th degree of Capricorn, all 30 degrees of Aquarius, and from 0 to the 6th degree of Pisces. The 7th house covers the 20th to the 30th degree of Cancer, all 30 degrees of Leo, and from 0 to the 6th degree of Virgo. Retrograde planets. One final notation that should be mentioned is the symbol R or RX after a planet, signifying retrograde motion. The specific meaning of retrograde planets as well as intercepted houses will be explained in Chapter 5. It is not unusual to have one or more planets retrograding in your chart. In our sample chart, Figure 1, Pluto, Saturn, Neptune, Uranus, and Ceres are all retrograde. Locate the symbol R after their degree notation. You should now have a brief overview of the structure of a birth chart. Each birth chart is like a snowflake. No two are alike. Now let's take a look at the unique snowflake that is you. Reading your planets by sign and house position. Exercise 1. How to locate the planets in my birth chart. In this exercise, you will learn to locate each planet, asteroid, and other significant points in your own birth chart. Once you determine their positions, you will be writing them down in the table we have provided. Once again, we remind you that in order to do this exercise and complete the rest of the book, you will need a copy of your own birth chart. So, having that in front of you, begin by finding the symbol for the sun in the table. Then turn to your birth chart, locate the sun's symbol, and determine its sign and house placement, just as you did in the exercises at the beginning of the chapter. The symbol and degree of the sign should be written right next to the sun as we illustrated in the previous paragraphs. Once you have gathered this information, then fill out sentence 1 in table 2. Repeat the same process with the moon in your chart and fill out sentence 2. Continue until you've completed all of table 2. This table will provide you with the basic information required to write your own birth chart interpretation in chapter 3. To assist in familiarity with the structure of your birth chart, we have provided a blank wheel on page 33. Which I didn't put a slide of that in here, but it's just a circle broke down like that. A final note should be made about the position of the south node of the moon, which many chart printouts do not specify. If your chart does not contain your south node, it is located exactly opposite the sign and house of your north node. Thus, the north node were in Aries in the second house. The south node would be in Libra. Libra is the sign opposite of Aries in the 8th house. The 8th house is opposite the second house. You can use the diagram below to determine opposite signs and houses. For example, Leo is opposite Aquarius, the 4th house is opposite the 10th house, etc. As in chapter 1, I will be using my information as an example for the exercises. So number 1, we have my sun is in the sign of Taurus in the 2nd house. My moon is in the sign of Aries in the 1st house. My Mercury is in the sign of Taurus in the 2nd house. My Venus is in the sign of Gemini in the 3rd house. My Mars is in the sign of Taurus in the 2nd house. My Jupiter is in the sign of Sagittarius in the 9th house. My Saturn is in the sign of Libra in the 7th house. 8. My Uranus is in the sign of Sagittarius in the 9th house. My Neptune is in the sign of Sagittarius in the 9th house. My Pluto is in the sign of Libra in the 7th house. 11. My Chiron is in the sign of Taurus in the 2nd house. My Ceres is in the sign of Aquarius in the 11th house. My Pallas is in the sign of Capricorn in the 10th house. My Vesta is in the sign of Taurus in the 2nd house. My Juno is in the sign of Pisces in the 12th house. 16. My moon's north node is in the sign of Gemini in the 3rd house. 17. My moon's south node is in the sign of Sagittarius in the I misplaced it. Sagittarius. 18. My port of fortune is in the sign of Taurus in the 2nd house. And 19. My ascendant is Pisces and is located at the cusp of the 1st house. 20. My descendant is in the sign of Virgo at the cusp of the 7th house. 21. My midheaven is in the sign of Capricorn at the cusp of the 10th house. And 22, my undersky is in the sign of Cancer at the cusp of the 4th house. The astrological signs. The signs of the zodiac signify 12 styles of being in the world. Like filters, they color or modify the planetary energies, indicating how these energies are being expressed. Here is table 3, sign key phrases. We have Aries, the ram, Taurus, the bull, we have Gemini, the twins, Cancer, the crab, then we have Leo, the lion, Virgo, the virgin, Libra, the scales, Scorpio, the scorpion, Sagittarius, the centaur, Capricorn, the mountain goat, Aquarius, the water bearer, and Pisces, the fish. The astrological planets. The planets symbolize basic psychological functions or faculties common to all people. They tell us what is happening in the birth chart. And here is table 4, the planet key phrases. Sun, my basic identity and conscious purpose. Moon, my emotions, feelings, and daily habits. Mercury, my capacity to think, speak, learn, and reason. Venus, my capacity to attract people and things that I love and value. Mars, my capacity to act and assert myself based on personal desire. Jupiter, my search for meaning, truth, and ethical values. Saturn, my capacity to create order, form, and discipline in my life. Uranus, my unique individuality and capacity to liberate myself from past limitations. Neptune, my capacity to transcend the finite self through expressing unity with the greater whole. Pluto, my capacity to transform and renew myself. Chiron, my capacity for holistic understanding. Ceres, my capacity to unconditionally love and nurture myself and others. Pallas, my capacity for creative wisdom and original perceptions. Vesta, my capacity to integrate and focus my energies. And Juno, my capacity for meaningful relationships. In table 3, please note that the sun, a star, and the moon, a satellite, are categorized as planets because they symbolize the same types of psychological functions. I think that means table 4. The same holds true of the planetoid Chiron, discovered in 1977, the 4 asteroids Ceres, Pallas, Vesta, and Juno. Discovered in 1801-2, the asteroids were not included in birth charts until 1973, when tables of their positions were published. Since then, a growing number of astrologers have begun to use them in birth chart interpretations. If you don't know the location of Chiron or the asteroids in your birth chart, you can easily order them. See Appendix D. The astrological houses. The astrological houses act as fields of experience for the expression of planetary function. They indicate where or in what department of life the action is taking place. At this point, we should mention that the 12 signs and the 12 houses form a one-to-one correspondence. That is, the symbolism of Aries corresponds to the meaning of the first house, Taurus to the second house, Gemini to the third house, etc. Consequently, as you understand the signs, the meanings of the houses will fall into place. Like the 12 signs, the houses can be seen as phases or cycles of experience that unfold in an evolutionary sequence, beginning with the birth of self-awareness in the first house and ending with the dissolving of the ego in the 12th. The arrangement of these houses is shown pictorially in Figure 2. Their phrases and keywords are illustrated in Table 5. House 1 is one's persona. 2 is possessions and resources. 3 is mental activity. 4 is establishing foundations. 5 is self-expression. 6 is self-improvement. 7 is forming partnerships. 8 is transformation through relationships. 9, the search for meaning. 10, securing a vocation. 11, social aspirations and ideals. And 12 is self-transcendence. Here is figure 3, the wheel of astrological houses. The following figure shows the actual structure of the 12 houses as 12 30-degree segments of a circle. Thematic keywords are written in each house. Summary of the astrological alphabet. Introduction to rulerships. From Table 6 on the next page, and Figure 6, page 22, you should notice that a 1-to-1 correspondence exists between the planets, signs, and houses. Each planet corresponds to a particular sign and house. In astrological tradition, particular importance has been attached to the planet sign correspondence. When a planet corresponds to a particular sign, it is said to rule that sign. Below are listed the 12 signs of planets and asteroids that rule them. Aries is ruled by Mars. Taurus is ruled by Venus. Gemini is ruled by Mercury. Cancer is ruled by the moon in Ceres. Leo is ruled by the sun and Pallas. Virgo is ruled by Mercury in Vesta. Libra is ruled by Venus in Juno. Scorpio is ruled by Pluto. Sagittarius is ruled by Jupiter in Chiron. Capricorn is ruled by Saturn. Aquarius is ruled by Uranus, and Pisces is ruled by Neptune. Notice that in Table 6, Aries, Mars, and the first house are contained in one sector. This is because each is derived from the same primary or monadic energy. Thus, if you look over the keywords for Mars, Aries, and the first house, you'll find that a common theme, based on the principles of element, polarity, and modality, runs through their meanings. The same relationship holds true among Taurus, Venus, and the second house in the second sector. Gemini, Mercury in the third house, etc. Therefore, we can conclude that the astrological alphabet consists of 12 primary letters, each of which differentiates into a planet, sign, and house. Finally, Figure 4 is a wheel that summarizes all that we have learned by showing the keywords for each planet, sign, and house. The material is listed in tabular form in Table 6. So all this information is also in Table 6. And while Chapter 2 is a short chapter, Chapter 3 is going to be done over a couple of different lessons. So if you have any questions, make sure you leave a comment down below, and I will answer as soon as I see them. And I will see y'all again on Monday at 9 p.m. to start Chapter 3.